So I'm here at Young Driver Challenge, the final of the Young Driver Challenge, and I've been joined by two very special guests, people who I used to watch when I was just a little boy. I'm so pleased to be here with you.
Short trousers, tiny.
I know, it was about
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm joined by Quentin Willson and Vicki Butler-Henderson. A real pleasure to be here with you guys. A real pleasure to be here at Young Driver. Quentin, you've been involved with Young Driver for 10 years?
10 years, yeah. And I've been patron because it's just a great thing to do, and all our kids have been through it. My 27-year-old, my 21-year-old, 14-year-old's going through it now, and it just works. They're confident, assured drivers who are safe, and the accident rates are much, much lower when they go through this. And it's this hazard perception and getting the below the dashboard stuff right before they go near a public road. Here's the nutty thing, Tim, that we are asking kids to wrestle with the gears and the clutch and the steering inputs and the modulation of the brakes while trying to not hit anything when they're 17 on a public road on the first day of learning to drive. And that's just kind of nuts. So getting them to master the below the dashboard theory now, so when they do learn to drive properly on the road, they can do the really important thing, which is hazard perception.
Yeah, exactly. They can then, use their eyes to read the road, read what's going on, because they're already familiar with, feet and hands, which they should be doing. I think it's such a fantastic thing. I wish I had done it when I was younger. I was racing when I was 12, so I had a slightly different background to it, but I really wish that I'd had lessons for this that prepared me for when I was 17, for when I went on the road.
Yeah.
But that's another thing, Vix, isn't it? That all the great drivers in the world started to drive tractors, go-karts, combine harvesters, racing cars, whatever, at an early age. And it shows, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. My father is a farmer, and I was in a tractor driving. He was doing the pedals, I was doing the steering from when I was probably about 4 years old. So I've learned about, just how to understand how things happen in a car, any sort of vehicle. I think the Young Driver system is absolutely fantastic, and I will be putting my children through it.
How old are your children now?
5 and 8. Not long now.
2 years. And I've got some big shoes to fill, because you're quite a talent behind the wheel.
It has been said.
But I just want my children to learn how a car behaves, what happens to the whole weight of it when they brake, when they accelerate, when they turn. I want them to understand chassis dynamics so that when they ever, start doing skid control and stuff like that, they understand how a car is behaving to keep them safe, because that's all you ever want as a parent.
Completely. And when you are a parent, it becomes a really pressing priority to make sure your kids go out on the road and they really, really do know how to protect themselves from other drivers. And that's the brutal reality of it all. We need to give our kids incredible skill set to drive on today's roads, because they're getting more and more complicated, more and more difficult.
Yeah. You want your children to go out and come home.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. I think there's more of us in this country now. There's more cars on the roads. They're getting busier and busier and busier. But I think the two things that stood out for me from today is the fact that you are expanding the time that they can learn to drive. When you're 17, you just want to learn to drive, don't you? I think the biggest thing that stood out for me is the parents have all said the difference it's made on the children, like even when they're 13.
And confidence as well.
Exactly.
And we've got some special needs kids here today, and it's just so wonderful. I mean, I was choking up earlier on when you've got these kids who say, look, it's one of the things I can do. I'm not brilliant at school, but I can drive a car. And that takes them up another notch in the kind of ladder.
Which is amazing, actually, because you wouldn't think that is something that would happen. It's like a byproduct of giving them the keys to a car is giving them confidence. I just think that is such a lovely thing.
And also, you've got to remember, it's what we want them to do is to have ambition, to have mobility, to go to jobs, to get interviews, to go to university, to college. We don't want curfews. We don't want a restriction on their mobility. We want them as safe as possible and teach them properly so they can go and do their careers and their jobs and drive.
Yeah, and like you say, it's familiarising them with something. When you're 17, you sit behind the wheel of a car. It's something Mum and Dad have always done, and now you're in control of this vehicle, doing speeds. As soon as you pass your test, you can go up to, legally, 70 miles an hour on a motorway. The test doesn't include any motorway driving.
It does now.
It does now, but until recently it didn't.
That's right.
That's probably one of the most dangerous situations you're going to have. You're doing 70 miles an hour with cars all around you. It's just crazy. But I think that the government and the authorities could learn something from young driving.
I think children see their, whoever's driving them, they see the bad habits that those people get. If you can get a child on the young driver course earlier, they eradicate all those bad habits because they know how to drive properly, and so that they know when mum or dad or granny or someone makes a mistake, they know that person's making a mistake, and hopefully they will have a nice discussion within the car. And
so many parents have said that. So many parents said, I'm driving now and he'll tell me what I've done wrong, or she'll tell me what I've done wrong. In fact, one of the young men I was talking to this morning was 12 years old, and he's had lessons with one of the instructors here today, and the instructor told him off because he'd picked up a bad habit off his dad. He was doing the whole single hand on the wheel.
Often you hear them, the parents saying, look, he's telling us we should go slower, he's telling us he should change to third before there's traffic lights and things like that. And that's great. It means the whole family is involved and engaged in the process of driving better. I have a confession to make though. I was called into my son's school once because he was using bad language. And I went to the headmaster and I said, so what words did he use? And the headmaster said, they're very, very bad words, Mr. Wilson. And he tells me that he heard them while you were driving. So, bad habit, sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to share those words?
No, I don't. Not here, not now, not ever.
Probably break the bleep counter. For parents who haven't taken part in young driving or have never heard of young driving before, what would you both say?
Just sign your child up right now. Get a voucher for a 1 hour session, and then go from there.
It's something you can't afford not to do because it gives them this. Because the moment kids are surrounded with Grand Theft Auto, Top Gear, Need for Speed, all these kind of corrosive things, that by the time they get to 17, they're not interested in road safety. The great thing about this is you're catching them when they are receptive to road safety messages. 12, 13, 14, they are listening to you. So these are the things that they learn which stay with them for life. About being careful, about being cautious, about being just moderate in their driving. And that's what we find is the best thing you can do for your child.
How long have you both been driving for now, Quentin?
I'm 25 years old, I've been driving since I was 17.
I'm 4. I've been driving a long time. Yeah, 3 decades at least.
Yeah? I've been driving for, working it out on the way here, I think it was about 13 years now. And this didn't exist. I've quite a short career in driving, and this just didn't exist. And I wish it did, because it would have just been night and day difference. I remember I wanted to learn to drive so much, and then I could finally drive. I was like, yes, this is fantastic, I've finally done it. But I remember all my friends were sort of like, they were terrified of learning to drive.
You shouldn't be terrified. And if you do this beforehand, then you go through the process to learn to drive feeling much, much more confident. And we get feedback from instructors and examiners who say, well, that was a young driver pupil, and you could tell immediately because of the discipline and the order and the fact that they can control the car and they know what to do without having to be told it first. So there's a definite benefit, and we're looking at a kind of 40% reduction in accident rates among this group of kids who have had early driver training. And that's a significant accident reduction.
Well, if you'd like to find out more about Young Driver, please head over to our website. It's youngdriver.com. Have a look at that. Also have a look at all of our social channels as well for the latest updates and news. We really hope to see you and your children here with us very soon. And as always, safe driving.